Hello! In this video I'm going to be talking about goosebumps and getting chills when you listen to music or when you're actually making your own music. And of course it doesn't just happen in musical settings. You can get goosebumps when you're talking with somebody. This just happened to me yesterday actually. I've been thinking about it ever since. I had brunch with a colleague, a friend of mine, and we were talking about a topic that really inspired me, and I just had continuous goosebumps for maybe a couple minutes, which is a long time to have continuous goosebumps. So it was actually a really very important conversation for me personally. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about what I believe stimulates those goosebumps, a little bit of research, and also my experience, kind of giving you a recipe of how you can set up the conditions to make that happen for yourself if you like that experience like I do. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí, and I would love to know that you're here. I just see Angela's here saying hi. Thanks for saying hi. I'd love to know, what you're interested in, and if this makes sense to you. I'd love to hear from you as we go along, so this is more interactive. And then also, if you're watching the replay, thank you for taking the time, and I would love it if you just say hi and ask your questions. Feel free even to tag me months from now if something strikes you about what I'm talking about today. And if you have a question, just tag me and I will absolutely get in touch with you and we can have a conversation, okay? So this topic, the goosebumps, I don't know about you. Do you like when you get goosebumps when you're listening to music? Give me a yes if you do in the comments. And I'm also curious about if anybody out there ever experiences goosebumps when you're playing yourself. Now that's my favorite. Actually, I don't know. I love when I hear someone else play music and it gives me goosebumps. That happened actually in a lesson yesterday too. I had a lot of goosebumps yesterday. It was a great day. That's why this is the topic. Angel says yes, right? So I was teaching a lesson and my student gave me goosebumps there for a moment because he was suddenly able to access that brilliant moment of inspiration where things were just flowing, and that triggered that situation in me when the goosebumps happen. Angel says, yes, I love when my own playing gives me goosebumps. Good, I'm glad to hear I'm not the only one that gives themselves goosebumps, because that could sound kind of weird. But I honestly love it, and it is possible to set up the situation so that you can promote that in yourself. And I want to talk about that a little bit today. So, and I'd love to hear if you actually have suggestions for what works for you. If you want to add those tips in the comments, if you have any of that, anything that works for you to get you inspired and give you chills and goosebumps, share that. I would love to hear your perspective on that, Angel, and anybody else out there who knows about this experience. And by the way, you don't have to be a professional. You don't have to be at any high skill level to be able to really get inspired by your own playing. You can be an amateur, beginner, and really, it's not about that. It's not about your skill level. So I wanted to start this talk by referring to an article a friend of mine sent me very recently. It's called If Music, and I'll give you the link afterwards. I'm not set up to be able to give you the link right now, but I can put it in the comments when I'm done today. But the article is from Collective Evolution, and it's called If Music Gives You Goosebumps, Here's What It May Say About Your Brain. So I found this very interesting. I'm not sure I read the whole article. I very rarely read whole articles anymore. Too many other things to do. But this one was actually really interesting. So I'm going to just read a few paragraphs for you, very short. Quote, Matthew Sachs, a former undergraduate at Harvard, decided he wanted to find out chills when they would listen to music and what might be triggering this feeling. His research experiment took a look at 20 students and their feelings when listening to music. 10 students admitted to feeling chills or having goosebumps when they hear music, and the other 10 did not. Brain scans were taken of all 20 students and the results were analyzed. Of the 10 who had stated their experience that they experienced strong emotional connection to music and felt chills when listening, they displayed a different brain structure than those who claimed to not experience chills when listening to music. The area of the brain in question here is that of the auditory cortex and those that process emotions. What was found was that those who experienced the feelings of chills while listening to music had denser or stronger fibers connecting the areas of the brain in question. This means that the two areas can communicate better. Sachs published his findings on Oxford Academic, but he is quoted in Neuroscience by saying, quote, the idea being that more fibers and increased efficiency between two regions means that you have more efficient processing between them, end quote. Okay, so I found that very interesting because it basically means that your auditory cortex and your emotional areas of the brain are communicating really well. There's a lot of activity happening in the brain, and there's a lot of connection happening between those millions of neurons, billions probably. So what does that mean practically? That's what I'm most interested in, because I want to get the goosebumps. I like that. It just is, I know everything is right in the world and in me when that magical moment happens. I don't know about you. Can you connect to that? It's like that magical moment when it can happen when you're watching a movie. This happens to me a lot when I'm watching a movie and there's something emotional happening that is moving me emotionally, and then the music is so much a part of that. The goosebump thing happens a lot when I'm watching movies, if it's really good music. But anyway, how I think about it. Okay. Yeah, Angel, I agree. It's magic. It's something very special. And it's ultimately what drives us to be artists, to be musicians. It's that special experience that's kind of magical when the conditions are all set up and you're able to have almost an otherworldly, heavenly, meaningful experience that gives you a bigger perspective on life. It's really that important. Okay, this is not just about having a fun feeling in your body. This is about depth of purpose and meaning of life. This is serious. Okay, the goosebumps are just the icing on the cake. So when I think about this goosebumps, chills thing, I'm thinking about inspiration. They are totally connected to me, those ideas of that feeling and inspiration. Now, I love the word inspiration because it evokes the word spirit. It has that root of the word. Inspiration has that bit of spirit in it. And to me, that's also very mysterious, okay? I don't think anybody can really 100% nail down a definition of spirit that's going to convince the rest of the world. Forget it, don't even try. But I prefer that it's a mystery, and there is something mysterious about the goosebumps too. But like I said before, we can set up the conditions to maximize the possibilities that we will experience that as an audience member and also as the musician making the music. So for me, it happens. It can happen really quickly without any intention on my part. I mean, I can walk through the room when someone's watching the television, can hear something or see something, and it causes that to happen. Why? I haven't done anything special, but it happens because the conditions in me are open to that happening, okay? So what I think it is there's a special combination where your mind and your body and your emotions, your soul, your spirit, somehow they all click together all at once, and there's that inspired spark that sets off a chain reaction of goosebumps. This is the theory of goosebumps by Jennifer. This is just based on my own experience, and it kind of makes sense when I read that article that there's a lot of special stuff going on in the brain connecting your emotions with your thoughts and with what you're hearing, the auditory cortex too. So again, it's mind. When my mind is open, when I'm open to receiving, this is the key point. The one key point is that you're open to receiving inspiration in the form of something beautiful, something moving, something emotionally raw and vulnerable, something that touches you to the quick. It touches you to the core of your heart. Somehow it goes right in there and you are moved. You're kind of stunned out of your everyday existence. It's something unexpected. It's a surprise. That's actually another key element. You're open to surprise. There's a surprise element so that you can set the stage for it to happen, but you can't make it happen. So when I talk about a recipe for goosebumps, I'm talking about a recipe for setting the stage and optimizing the chances that that's going to happen. And when you really know how to do that, you can actually kind of make the goosebumps happen on purpose. So there's an element of surprise, but there's also an element of knowing that you can take this in, okay? So I hope this is making sense. It's kind of a hard thing to put into words because it's so all-inclusive. But again, key point, being open to that experience. And that means you're practicing being open in your mind, in your body, okay? If you have a tight body that is not flexible or responsive, I think personally you're less likely to experience the goosebumps and chills from something. You're less likely to feel inspired in the way that we're talking about. You can be inspired, of course, but you're less likely to feel it when your body is tight with excess tension or stiffness, or it's blocking, because that stiffness and excess tension is actually blocking you from feeling strong emotions. And remember what we said about that research that found that the parts of your brain that process emotions are very active in the goosebumps phenomenon, and they're connecting with the auditory cortex. So, and I'm sure, I mean, this is not in the research, but I'm sure it's the same thing when you're stimulating your visual cortex and connecting that to your emotional areas of the brain, because you can get goosebumps from looking at something that's exquisitely beautiful also. And so for me, it's also, I mean, it can be anything that's inspiring. It can also be ideas. I mean, literally, and I'm not just saying this, I am getting goosebumps right now because I am connecting to something meaningful. I am open in my body. My mind is open. There's something true that is coming through me and being expressed. And I don't know if you can pick up on that or not. And again, in the research study, it was 50% of the people that were studied were getting the goosebumps. The other 50% weren't. Now, that's not to say there's anything better in those people. I'm not making any judgment whatsoever. I really am truly not. I just happen to like this experience. It's a pleasurable experience. It's exciting. It's fun. And it's something special for me. But if you never experience goosebumps, that's just fine. There is no judgment on this. But if you don't experience goosebumps very often, I think that possibly what I'm sharing today, if you want to experience the goosebumps, could help optimize that for you. You want to be open in your mind, have an open mind to the possibility that you could experience goosebumps and get inspired. So being open to possibility is big. Open-mindedness, being open and responsive and flexible in your body. Those two go together. Really, they go together. You can't separate your mind and body. They're different concepts, but they're connected, totally inseparable. Open mind and body. And then special, you need to have an open heart, because if your heart is not open to experiencing the depth of strong emotions, I doubt that you are going to be hit by something and struck by it so deeply that you're going to burst out into the sparkling goosebumps. So you need to work on this throughout your daily life, okay? So as a musician, if you're a musician, you can work on this intentionally when you practice, but even more effective is if you're practicing it all day long. And what I teach my students is exactly what I would teach somebody if they just wanted to learn how to get goosebumps. So I don't know if you know, I mean, some of you know me, some of you don't, but I'm a certified Alexander Technique teacher, and I coach musicians to help them overcome pain, stress, performance anxiety, excess tension in the body. Basically, I teach you how to free yourself, mind, body, soul, spirit, emotions, all that. Free all of that, and that frees up your music. When your music is surprising and spontaneous, and you're open to feeling, receiving the sound and the phrasing that the music wants, you're letting your music do itself, then you can receive that unexpected wonderfulness, and you can feel the goosebumps from your own playing. Again, even if it's just open strings, you can give yourself goosebumps. And even if you don't play an instrument and you're just in the audience, you're going to maximize your ability to be inspired by what you're hearing if you've been practicing having an open mind, heart, soul, spirit all day long. So I teach my students very specific awareness etudes that they practice twice a day, just for a few minutes. This does not have to be a big deal. This isn't, I mean, it is a big deal. It's very, very powerful, but it's not like it has to be something that occupies all your time, right? You can just practice awareness etudes for 5 minutes twice a day. And if you do that consistently, and you have the intention to be working on this in your subconscious, and you're bringing it up to your consciousness, you're going to be more likely to receive the inspiration that's going to set off the goosebumps. So I would love to get your response about this. This all just comes from my personal experience. I don't think I've ever even heard anybody talk about this before. So this is what happens to me, and this is what I teach. So if you want to learn more about really embodying that inspiration, no matter what skill level you're at with your music making, you can learn how to enjoy it more in a very, very visceral way. You can embody the deep emotions of your music making at any level when you learn the specific ways to open your mind and body and to be able to receive goodness, and then also to be able to translate it out your instrument. And when you do that, you can have more facility with your technique. You can become more musically expressive. You can inspire other people, and they can be more likely to experience goosebumps when you are, right? It's like an energetic thing where you're putting it out, they're receiving it, and then they put it out and you're receiving it. This is why we perform, because when you are inspired, you want to share that inspiration. That's a big part of the artistic experience, is sharing that experience with others. So I would love to get your feedback. Does this make sense? Or is this like off the wall and wacky for everybody out there? I would love to hear about your experience. Just tell me if you've ever experienced goosebumps yourself. Whoever's watching out there, I would love to know if you do. I mean, Angel responded. I see that Ola is here. Hello, I'm just gonna wave to you because I love that little button. And Sierra is here too. Hey Sierra, it's great to have you. Yeah, I would just, if you want to private message me and find out more about this whole process, it's a very simple step-by-step process that I teach my students based on the Alexander technique. And it's easy, okay? Really, like I said, just a few minutes in the morning, a few minutes in the evening. I have an etude that is the best warm-up you're ever going to learn, because it helps you to get out of your own way and open up and experience more ease in your body. When you're in a relaxed state that's open to receiving something special, you're much more likely to receive it. So, hope this was useful. Go now and have fun with your music making, and I wish you a beautiful day. Get in touch with me. Oh, and if you're not a member of the Musicians Mind Body Practice Tribe yet, please come on over and join my free Facebook group. We have a lot of fun there. And ask me any questions on anything musical, anything that you might be struggling with. I'd even be happy to hop on the phone with you and give you, personalized insights and tips from my Art of Freedom perspective and the Alexander technique. I just love to do that for people. So message me and ask. Okay? Lots of love. Bye-bye.